God, I can't see shit in this thing. That's better. Oh, hey, it's you. Looking for a new video to watch? Ugh, these guys again. Alright, let me go say hi to our friends, and I'll show you what I've been working on. To be completely honest, Ghost of Tsushima quite possibly may be my favorite single-player game ever. I mean it when I say that it's absolutely the best open-world action game released in the last 5 years, and I will fight you if you say otherwise. No, just don't. I love this game so much. I played it for the first time a few years ago when I got a PS5 as a Christmas present for myself. I had pretty much only truly wanted to get a PS5 for Spider-Man 2, however, since that was a ways off, I decided to check out what other games I could play on my brand new paperweight. I checked out Ghost of Tsushima and immediately fell in love with its incredibly detailed, war-torn, yet somehow still vibrant world. The characters, each with deep backstories and morals that made me feel like I came to truly know and care for each of them. The story's twists and turns, turbulent as they may be, are presented in a dramatic yet still grounded way to really make you feel and relate to what's happening. All this to say, when we got the announcement that Ghost of Tsushima would be releasing on PC, despite already playing through the game 4 or 5 times, I immediately knew I needed to make a video about it. I've been looking forward to this for months, and I can't wait anymore. Just a heads up, I'll be going through the whole main story in this video, so if you're just here to see my thoughts on the gameplay and, well, the port quality, skip ahead to the time on screen. Let's begin. But first, this video is brought to you by me. If you enjoy listening to two idiots talk about gaming, movies, TV, and general life stuff, come check out the Pixel Purgatory channel where I'm joined by my co-host, Chach. There you can hear our opinions and get to know us more. If you're not already sold, we have a mascot. Look at this dumb little bastard. He's cute as shit and he'd be heartbroken if you didn't subscribe. So head on over and check us out. It's one purgatory you won't want to leave. The game opens on the shores of Kaneda Beach during the Mongols' first invasion of 1274. The samurai are about to initiate their first attack on the invaders and push them out of Tsushima. Well, or not. Okay, so the samurai get mercilessly destroyed in this battle. Like, it's not even close. After our swift defeat, we are introduced to the game's main antagonist, Confronting the Khan, who takes the island's Jito and our character's uncle, Lord Shimura, as a prisoner back to Castle Kaneda. While Jin is left to bleed out in the sand, after a short nap, he wakes up in a nearby town. Looking to find out how he got there, he walks outside to find the town is currently being ransacked by Mongols. Eventually, he meets his savior Yuna. After making their way through the town to retrieve Jin's katana, they make their escape to Castle Kaneda to save Lord Shimura. Yuna tries to plead with Jin that
the Khan just wiped out all the samurai and you think you can do this alone?
And Jin's like, yeah. And then, Jin enters what I like to call the find out phase. So Jin meets back up with Yuna and they agree that that was embarrassing and decide to go find allies to prepare for a second rescue attempt. First on our list of potential recruits is Sensei Ishikawa, a master of the bow. Upon arriving at his home, we learn that he is in the midst of his own troubles. His apprentice Tomoe has gone missing and he asks for our help in finding her. While tracking her, we initially believe her to be captured by the Mongols, though we soon learn she is actually using captured villagers as pincushions in an effort to train the invaders in the way of the bow, using Ishikawa's techniques. Ishikawa agrees to help us free Lord Shimura in exchange for our help in hunting down his wayward student. Our next stop leads us to the Adachi estate in search of Lady Masako. However, we immediately notice that the home resembles a crack house in Compton. We eventually find Lady Masako, who informs us that her entire clan was killed by unknown assailants. Agreeing to help her bring justice to her family's killers, we end up tailing a monk back to the group of bandits that carried out the massacre. These men are not the masterminds, however, and Lady Masako agrees to aid us in freeing Lord Shimura if we help her track down the one who ordered her clan's death. After recruiting our 2 new allies, we go to meet back up with Yuna to search a prison camp for her brother Taka. Here we learn how to skewer unaware enemies, and we're also introduced to one of the main themes in the game. It's sort of touched on earlier through passing comments, but this is the first time Jin really has to come to terms with what honor is. He understands it's dishonorable to kill enemies from the shadows, even if it's their only way to gain the upper hand, but also, it's kind of their only way to gain the upper hand. We see him coming to terms with this throughout the game through these little flashback sequences, and I feel they do a good job of showing how Lord Shimura raised Jin to be a samurai, and despite not really knowing the character, makes you feel like you know him, and want to save him. Anyways, Jin wakes up from his murder-induced nostalgia trip, and we proceed to kill everyone else in this camp in search of that sweet dopamine rush. Unfortunately, we learn that Taka is no longer at the camp as he was moved to Azamo Bay prior to our arrival. We do, however, learn of the Straw Hat Ronin's presence in the area as we are able to free one of their former members. We make our way to Azamo Bay to continue our ninja antics and rescue Yuna's brother Taka. In order to get inside, we employ the help of the best character in this whole game, Kenji, a human-rat hybrid who can help smuggle us into the Mongol base. Kenji is the most lovable idiot in this whole game, and we'll talk more about him towards the end. Once inside Azamo Bay, we take to crossing the rooftops to follow the prison guard to learn more about where they might be keeping Yuna's brother. While following him, we learn that this little blue falcon is trying to take Taka's place as the blacksmith, and thus the guard makes his way to kill Taka.
I'm a blacksmith too, and I'm much better.
Alright, well, I'll just kill the other guy then.
Like, bro, what if this guy sucks? Holy shit! So, we finally find Taka and make our escape, and then meet up with Kenji down the road and ride off into the night. Following up on our earlier lead, we head towards the grasslands in search of the Straw Hat Ronin to gain more allies. We come across a destroyed cart and some Mongolian barbecue, and decide to follow the carnage into the nearby bamboo forest where we find a Straw Hat named Ryuzo. You see, Ryuzo and Jin were childhood friends until a tournament where Jin beat Ryuzo's ass so badly that none of the shogun wanted him to be a samurai in their clan, and he had to leave to become a Ronin. So, I'm sure nothing will go wrong with this alliance. Anyways, we learn that the Straw Hats are struggling to survive due to lack of food and supplies, so we set out with Ryuzo to a nearby Mongol camp to obtain the food that they've been hoarding, and it's gone. Well, Ryuzo agrees to help us save Lord Shimura anyways, based solely on the hope that they will be repaid with their own survival. Now that we have our allies, we make our way to Komatsu Forge to meet with Yuna and Taka, though when we arrive, we are once again met with Mongols sacking the village. We free the villagers and dispatch of the attackers, and Taka is able to forge us a grappling hook to scale the walls of Castle Kaneda. However, lighting up the forge is a giant fucking kill me beacon for the Mongols, and they begin their onslaught of our position. Cue my most memorable moment in this entire game across all my playthroughs, where we go full badass samurai and make their entire army reconsider invading. We beat them so badly here that this moment earns us the first usage of the title Ghost, as we're compared to a vengeful spirit. I love this whole sequence.
More than a samurai. He is a vengeful spirit, back from the grave to slaughter the Mongols.
Shortly after obtaining our grappling hook, Ryuzo comes to us to inform us that nearly all of the Straw Hats have been imprisoned by the Mongols, and he needs our help to free them. We use our trusty new Mausker tool to scale the cliffside that the camp is set upon. Once again, we make our specialty Mongol kebabs and proceed to free the Straw Hats. After a short battle, we've now reassembled our full army and have all the tools needed to take on Castle Kaneda. We rendezvous with our group on the cliffs below the castle and immediately notice that something's wrong. Everyone is here, except the Straw Hats. Jin just goes, "It's ghosting time."
Excuse me, what the f?
And just starts ghosting all over the place.
Welcome.
Now commences Operation Shitstorm. So we bring the full force of like 5 people. Against all odds, we do manage to win this game of whack fuck and make our way to the keep. However, we are stopped by our number 1 spot on the top 10 anime betrayals list.
What's up, brother?
That's right. Ryuzo sold out, and now he's here to kill us as the Khan has placed a bounty on the head of the ghost. Like I said earlier, he and his men are severely in need of food. It's understandable, but also, dick move, man. So, Jin gives Ryuzo a nostalgic beatdown and takes his hat. In a last-ditch effort to stop us, Ryuzo alerts the guards of our presence and runs off like a bareheaded bitch. The guards try to stop us from reaching the keep, but
They must have amnesia. They forgot that I'm him.
we make our way through the keep and free Lord Shimura, who explains that the Khan has rode north to take Toyotama and take up residence in Castle Shimura. After this, we do get a short cutscene showing the Khan at the gates of Castle Shimura. We also see that he's joined by Ryuzo, sans hat, so he's like 90% less cool now, which is only slightly better than this guy, who is 100% less cool. Now, with Castle Kaneda liberated and Lord Shimura freed, we start preparations to head north to take the fight to the Khan. We ride with Shimura into Toyotama while having one of those awkward judgmental family talks.
So, you're making videos on the internet now?
Yeah, it's going all right.
Does that pay?
I mean, it can, but
So no.
During the ride, we find a Mongol prison camp and make our way over to collect some heads. During the fight, Yuna arrives and alerts us of more enemies coming down the road. But they're big dumb, so... After the fight, Yuna strikes a deal with Lord Shimura, guaranteeing a ship to the mainland if she can convince the people of Yarikawa to fight for them. Shimura is skeptical, as he had previously waffle-stomped their rebellion in the past, but is willing to work with them if she's able to pull it off. Shimura himself tasks us with searching for a smuggler that owes him a debt, and also to return to our home in Omi Village to retrieve the armor of Clan Sakai. We first set off to Amugi Cove to find Goro the smuggler and inform him of Lord Shimura's request. The order is to sail a ship to the mainland with a letter requesting the help of the Shogun. There's also a cheeky little PS in there informing them that Shimura plans to formally adopt Jin as his son. Goro explains that there's a metric shit ton of Mongols blocking the port, and Jin explains that Sith Lords are his speciality, and starts ghosting all over. So, with the help of Lord Shimura, we slash our way through the Mongol camp overlooking the port, commandeer their artillery, and start raining Kamakura period napalm all over the ships in the bay. With the letter sent, we head over to meet Yuna in Yarikawa to find that this place too is under siege by the Mongols. Jesus, these guys are everywhere. So, we sneak past the Mongol blockade and into the town in order to meet with the town leader, who basically says,
Nah, the Mongols only want the mainland.
You guys do see them outside, right?
They'll probably get bored.
and then they start their attack. Okay, I'm cutting out a little bit here, but that's basically what happened. So Jin rallies the people of Yarikawa to fight against the Mongols, and during the battle, Jin kinda goes batshit crazy and starts committing war crimes. Luckily, the Geneva Convention hasn't been invented yet to spoil our rampage, and after taking a few heads, Jin rouses the people to fight against the Mongols, prompting them to pledge to fight for the ghost. With 2 of our 3 chores done, we now head to Omi Village to get our family's armor. When we get there, however, we find that it's missing.
Where is it? It's missing.
Banzai!
Oh, what the shit? Psych. Actually, the dimension-ridden caretaker Yuriko hid it, so shit, it might actually be gone. We go to pay our respects to our father while Yuriko goes to find the armor. Finally, we retrieve the armor and ask Yuriko to make an extra strong concoction of her rodent poison.
Now remember, this poison is for the rats.
Sure, that's what we'll call them.
What?
It works. Thank you, Yuriko.
Jin, what the fuck?
So, with the armor and a special tool that will come in handy later, we meet back up with Lord Shimura at his camp. The preparations for the battle are almost complete, however, Shimura informs us that Ryuzo has been spotted at a Mongol camp nearby. So, I guess it's time to go take his clothes too. Once we get to the camp, we find out that Taka has been following us and insists on helping. So we give him the annoying little brother treatment and tell him to go outside the gates and start yelling, then ride away before he gets killed. The idiots chase after him and leave the gate open for us to stroll right in. Once inside, we come face to face with Ryuzo, and as we're about to start round 2, we get third-partied. When we come to, oh, what the hell? So they captured Taka as well. The Khan himself arrives and tries to convince us to join him.
Join me, Ghost.
No.
Kill him.
When we refuse, he gives our sword to Taka and tells him he can go free if he kills us. Taka, clearly the most capable fighter, swings the sword at the Khan and kills him. Oh, sorry, skipped a line there. Taka swings the sword at the Khan, who disarms Taka and kills him. My bad. Yeah, so our headless friend tries his best, but God, Yuna is gonna be pissed. Anyways, the Khan leaves us tied up to reconsider his offer, but we just kind of break free out of our bonds. We retrieve our gear that he thankfully left right next to us and proceed to massacre every single straw hat in the camp. Yuna arrives and sees her brother's body, which sends her into a rage. Luckily, a second wave comes just in time for her to take her anger out. Now, with every remaining Straw Hat dealt with and Ryuzo and the Khan running away again, Yuna and Jin bury Taka and head back to Shimura's camp, where we find that the Shogun have arrived. With that, we group up with our allies and begin our assault to take back Castle Shimura. The battle begins smoothly, and we cut down the entire front line with ease, making our way inside the first gate and dispensing sharpened honor all the way to the second gate. From here, we're tasked with climbing the gate to ensure that the way ahead is clear for the army behind us. However, Jin uses that special tool from earlier and makes the rats spew blood from every orifice. Shimura and the rest of the Shogun break through the gate just in time to witness what we've done, and they all agree that it is very much not Daijobu. Outwardly, Jin agrees, but inside he sweeps his emo fringe to the side and proclaims that
The ghost isn't a phase, Dad.
Anyways, we make our way up the hill and take over the Mongol artillery again and rain hellfire down on everything that moves. Hell, we'll even hit the shit that doesn't move just to be safe. During our final push, the Mongols lock themselves inside the last gate on the other side of the bridge to the keep. Against Jin's wishes, Shimura sends soldiers from Yarikawa to the gate, and as they approach, it bursts open as the most metal thing I've ever seen comes plowing through them and blows up the bridge. Jin and Shimura argue about sending the men to their death, with Jin arguing that if they would just use the new tactics he has adopted, they could have spared many lives, while Shimura argues that these new tactics are dishonorable and using them is a worse fate than death. So, Jin takes matters into his own hands, and Yuna reveals that she has one last gift from Taka made shortly before his death. As the sun sets, Jin fully dons the mantle of the ghost, marking the end of his former life. Now, fully accepting his new identity, he ninjas his way under the destroyed bridge and scales the cliffside behind the courtyard of the castle. We sneaky snake our way to the booze stockpile and add a pinch of the secret ingredient, death. Once again, the Mongols proceed to shit blood like they've eaten nothing but Taco Bell for a week, and then keel over. Now, in search of the Khan, we head inside the castle to finish our mission. Inside, however, we come face to face with Ryuzo, who informs us that the Khan has gone north and left him here to deal with the ghost. However, this fucking turncoat starts begging us to forgive him and tell everyone that he was our spy so that he won't face justice. So, we give him a healthy dose of consequences straight through the chest and head outside to look upon our handiwork. Right on cue, Lord Killjoy appears to scold us, and Jin pleads with him to understand that the old ways would not have brought them victory against this enemy. Shimura finally gives Jin an ultimatum: renounce the ghost and tell everyone that Yuna was responsible for poisoning his mind, or be arrested and likely executed. Jin's a fucking G though, and takes full responsibility, and gives his sword to Yuna so that she can head north after the Khan. Meanwhile, Jin is arrested and imprisoned. While sitting in his cell, Jin hears a familiar voice.
Who's that Pokemon?
it's Ryu! No!
It's Kenji! Fuck! That's right, it's our lovable little rat man, Kenji. He distracts the guards and tells us that Yuna is waiting for us at the sacred tree in Kin Sanctuary. Without our gear or weapons, we make our way through Castle Shimura and attempt to make our escape. Moving along the rooftops using the power of dishonor, we manage to get to our horse to get the fuck out of Dodge. Unfortunately, our horse also manages to catch more than the doctor's recommended amount of arrows during our bolt for freedom. We do still manage to make it out of the castle alive, however. I realize I never mentioned earlier that we have a loyal horse companion that has actually been with us for our entire journey up to this point. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it's fucking dead. After shedding the manliest of tears both in real life and in game, we bury our only friend in this frozen hell and make the rest of the journey on foot. When we arrive at Kin Sanctuary, we find that, surprise, the Mongols are here destroying the town. God, these guys really are everywhere, holy shit. Armed only with the power of iron knees, we crouch through the entire village to get to the tree in the center. Why, you ask? Well, because Jin saw this and thought,
I'm sure she's in there.
And just decided she's probably just sitting in the burning tree. So, we get to the tree and find the well-done villagers at the center. So, obviously, Yuna isn't here. With that, it's time to get the hell out of this town. And as we're leaving, we get shot with a poisoned arrow by the Mongols. We start exhibiting symptoms of Ebola and pass out. When we awake, we find that Yuna has saved us yet again. We regroup ourselves and search for anything resembling safety. We then head towards danger as they have the safety. There's a nearby temple that would be perfect for the Ghost Army to take refuge. There is a small rat infestation, however, but fortunately, that's our specialty. After clearing the temple, we set up camp inside and plan our next move. There's a Mongol checkpoint blocking the way to Omi, keeping the rest of our allies on the other side. Yuna asks us to meet up with Takeshi, a friend of hers that runs with a group of hunters. Definitely hunters, and not bandits. Hunters. So we make our way into the mountains to find them, and after a small amount of convincing, they agree to help us take control of the checkpoint. We take our positions on the cliffs above the Mongols' blockade as Jin and the hunters make their plan of attack, which I, as the player, immediately throw out the window and start hacking and slashing my way through their forces. During the fight, our allies from the other side make their move and we quickly dispatch of the Mongols with our impromptu pincer maneuver. After clearing the checkpoint, we have a quick chat with Yuna.
We should be good to leave the bandits in control of the checkpoint to hold off the Mongols.
Yeah, that sounds like a good... Did you just say bandits?
What?
After this, we guide our allies back to the temple and establish our new hideout. Yuna and Jin then decide to head out to the nearby port where the Khan's army is preparing to sail to the mainland. While scouting out the area, we make our way into the lighthouse and find that it's being used to store the ingredients to make Jin's concentrated Ebola juice, which the Mongols have been using on villagers in the area. Realizing that the Mongols likely intend to use the poison on the people of the mainland, Jin and Yuna agree that they need to strike soon before the Khan has the chance to make his move. A storm is starting to brew and they decide to make their move upon its commencement. Jin tells Yuna that if they're to succeed, they'll need more help than the small army they currently possess. So, we start writing a letter.
Uncle, you plus me equals dead Khan. See you there. Love, the Ghost.
We then ride south back to Castle Shimura and sneak inside the compound to hand-deliver our request for aid to Lord Shimura's quarters. We expertly sneak past the guards despite being dummy thick, and make our escape with the hope that Shimura will set aside our differences and help us end this war. That being said, when you're sneaking around, you hear that he is pretty fucking pissed.
I've heard the Khan now wields the same poison as Lord Sakai.
Do not speak his name like presence.
Forgive me.
Because of him, bandits have learned to use poison to murder our people. The Ghost has unleashed a hell from his island.
With the storm steadily approaching, we attempt to make the most of our time with our allies before cheeks get clapped. Though, ironically, it seems like Jin and Yuna want to spend this time doing just that. Our relaxation is all too short, however, as we are soon marching upon the Khan's stronghold. We break from our allies as the battle starts, with them taking on the brunt of the Mongol forces. We make our way through the encampment undetected to get a better vantage point so we can find the Khan. We deduce that he is likely in the lodge and make our way there to penetrate him with something long and hard.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
While we make our way to the lodge trying to stay unnoticed, we hear a welcome noise coming from the gates of the compound.
No mercy!
As we shift our attention to investigate, we are met with the invigorating sight of Lord Shimura and the samurai beginning their attack. With victory all but assured, we continue our advance. We finally come face to face with the Khan, who almost immediately attempts to make his escape. After slashing our way through the sentient speed bumps, we board the ship that the Khan has fled to. Here's where we have our final confrontation. Get it? Because confrontation. Alright.
Glad you decided to join me after all, Ghost.
What? No, I
always knew you'd come around.
I hate you. So much.
Tsushima will burn, and you along with it! This changes nothing. More will come.
It's finally over. Wait, did you say there's more of you?
After our climactic battle, Jin pulls a gotcha and wanders across the beach to reunite with Yuna. They have a brief moment of celebration before realizing they need to get back to their hideout before Shimura and his army makes Ghost more than just a title. Sometime later, as we and our allies are packing up to return home, we receive a summons from Lord Shimura himself, who asks us to meet him at the Sakai estate back in Omi village. Yuna warns us that it's likely a trap, but fuck it, we ball. Once in Omi village, we get dressed in some more casual garb and await the arrival of Mr. Honor Personified. He arrives and we walk through the village, making our way to the grave of Jin's father. During the walk, Shimura explains that the Shogun has seized all of Jin's assets and his estate will be transferred to a new clan that will come to take his place. Once arriving at the grave of Kazumasa, Shimura informs us that we aren't just meeting for some family bonding. The Shogun has actually tasked him with our execution and there's no way out of it. We each take some time to write our final words and prepare to settle our exhausting family drama. We draw our blades as Shimura attempts to carry out our sentence. Unfortunately for him, he's never dueled the ghost before and he's swiftly defeated. From here, we're given a choice. As Shimura begs us to honor him with a warrior's death, we have the option of granting him mercy or... Okay, so, in all seriousness, I let him live in my playthrough, and that is the canon ending. However, the honor-killing outcome is one of the most emotionally impactful endings you can find in gaming. It may, in some ways, go against Jin's whole character arc, however, it also makes sense in other ways. Both endings are correct, and I could totally see either becoming the true canon ending. So that's the story of Ghost of Tsushima. Well, kind of. Obviously, it's insanely abridged, and I didn't even get a chance to talk about the abundance of side quests and stories in this game. I strongly recommend you play it for yourself if you haven't. I don't want to completely spoil everything about the side stories, but I will touch on a few of them. If you recall, towards the beginning of the game, we recruited Sensei Ishikawa and Lady Masako as allies to our cause with the agreement that we'd aid them in their personal affairs. Those stories would have slowed the flow of the actual story synopsis during that segment, so I wanted to just give a quick breakdown here. Starting with Sensei Ishikawa, we aid him in hunting down Tomoe and wage a long war against her army of archers, eventually culminating in her getting away.
Bye!
What a bitch.
Okay, so I know that doesn't sound riveting, but the character development of Ishikawa and the moral dilemma he faces due to the fate of his prior student, alongside the current issues he faces with Tomoe, is actually quite interesting and helps to urge you forward to see what happens next. Next is Lady Masako, who we help to bring justice to her family's murderers. The search spans the entire island of Tsushima, starting from the serene south and ending in the wintry north, where along the way we learn more about Lady Masako, her family, and finally tracking down the person that orchestrated the murder of Clan Adachi. This story is a bit deeper than the hunt for Tomoe with Ishikawa, and I personally think I enjoyed it slightly more. The other 3 stories aren't quite as epic or as important to the plot as the first 2, however, they are still enjoyable. Way back when we took on the Mongol prisoner camp with Lord Shimura after our battle at Castle Kaneda, we ended up liberating a warrior monk named Norio. Norio's story is one of someone who lives in their brother's shadow, trying to live up to the expectations placed upon him by his peers. He informs us early on that his brother, the region's guardian, had been killed by the Mongols, and now that title falls to him. We aid him in his pursuit to take on this mantle, and it really is a good story with a satisfying conclusion. Next up is the tale of Yuriko, and I personally think this one is my favorite. This one revolves around the caretaker of the Sakai estate, Yuriko. It's an emotional journey as Jin just does various things to help her find comfort as her mind slowly falls to dementia. I don't want to spoil all of it, as there really isn't any action or any crazy moments in this series of missions. It's really just an emotional journey. What I will say is that the game very much succeeds in making you care for a character that is introduced more than halfway through without any real introductions or prior relationship building. The final tale is of our main man Kenji. As I mentioned earlier, Kenji really is one of my favorite characters in the game. Despite his appearance and general demeanor, he really subverts expectations. First impressions of Kenji are that he's a sleazy little weasel of a man that's entirely up to no good. The reality, however, is that he's a sleazy little weasel of a man that has a heart of gold. You see, his story is basically, Kenji wants to help people, but he majorly lacks foresight, so we come in to clean up the mess. It may seem extremely boring and tedious, but I promise you it's anything but. While Kenji himself might have the tendency to annoy you if you don't like his specific style of character, he definitely has his moments, and some of his dialogue is really funny. These quests also seem to fall just a little short, however. I don't mean that in the sense that they're bad though, I mean like literally short. My biggest complaint for these tales is the lack of them. It feels like it ends right when we start to see some good character development for Kenji. If we had just a couple more missions in this side story, it would definitely be my favorite of the 5. Hey, Editing Kel here. So I made a mistake. Don't know how, because it's kind of a big one, but there's actually one more tale, and that is the tale of Yuna. It's fairly short, there's only about 4 missions, but it does tackle a very serious subject matter. Yuna's tale is one of grief, guilt, and trauma of childhood slavery. It's, like I said, a little heavy, but it's a really good tale. To be honest, I think it's probably my second favorite one. I feel like it's just not quite there to take Yuriko's #1 slot for me. However, it is very close, and I did enjoy it a lot. And it's a little embarrassing that I forgot it, so yeah, sorry, just wanted to throw this in here real quick, unscripted. So, interruption over, let's get back to the video. Okay, so we've covered everything in the base game. There is an expansion to the game that takes place on Iki Island. Some quick backstory to make this make complete sense. Throughout the course of the game, Jin is periodically haunted by his past. His father was killed in front of him, and he blames himself for being unable to save him from the attacker. Well, you see, Jin's father was killed on Iki Island during the Sakai invasion. During this attack, the islanders fought a brutal war against the samurai and managed to hold their ground after many bloody battles, culminating in the death of Jin's father. Flash forward to the current day, and Jin finds that there are some Mongols with different tactics. While roaming a beach in Toyotama, we find a massacred village. During our investigation, we get ambushed by a group of Mongols. Among the group is a shaman whose chants seemingly increase the other's combat capabilities. After our short battle, we learn that they were a scouting party sent from Iki Island by the order of someone named the Eagle. Afraid that the Eagle will eventually make their way to Tsushima, Jin boards a ship to deal with the threat on the island. In a foreboding twist of fate, the ship is mercilessly destroyed in a storm, and honestly, I was just worried I was going to lose another horse. Sometime later, we awake on the shores of Iki Island. Fortunately, Jin and I are on the same page, and we immediately set out to find our dutiful companion. A short but frantic search later, and we find that our horse has learned a thing or two from spending time with us, as he's absolutely fucking this group of Mongols. We mount him and then proceed to double team yet another group. From here, we make our way to Fort Sakai, which is currently inhabited by the Eagle, who captures us and puts us through a drug trip.
I fucking love Far Cry.
6 was a little rough, but
We're rescued by a local named Tenzo, who takes us to meet with a raider group led by a woman named Fune. They aren't happy that Tenzo brought a samurai to their super secret hideout, but we manage to stay alive because we give them a fake name.
my name's Ryuzo.
Given the bloody history caused by the Sakai clan, we deem it a good idea to keep that a closely guarded secret that no one will ever find out about so that we can keep our head.
Tenzo told me you're a Sakai.
Shit. Well, despite that, we continue to work together and eventually manage to kill the Eagle. There's some other story beats here that are pretty interesting as well. Gotta be honest, when I originally played this, I was pleasantly surprised with this expansion. It wasn't mind-blowing or anything, but in terms of a story DLC, it adds a sizable chunk of content that I thoroughly enjoyed completing. As a plus, it's included with the director's cut of the game, so you really can't go wrong checking it out. Alright, so now we've covered everything, right? Alright, well, there's one more thing. Ghost of Tsushima actually has a co-op mode called Legends. In it, up to 4 players can play through different game modes together while leveling different classes and obtaining gear to take on higher tiered challenges. There is a short, mission-based story that's unfortunately limited to 2 players. However, it's a fairly good time to go through. We completed it in about 4 or 5 hours and then moved on to the Horde modes to get a high enough gear score to take on the raids. While it may not be everyone's cup of tea, it's at least a fun enough time to go through the story with a friend in an evening or two. I wouldn't recommend you go out and buy the game specifically for this mode, but as a bonus addition to a title already bursting at the seams with content, it's a welcome inclusion to be sure. For real this time, that's finally it for the content. So, let's talk briefly about the gameplay and mechanics. The core of Ghost of Tsushima is solid. It's got beautiful visuals, tight controls, and brutally satisfying combat. Speaking of combat, it's broken up into stances which you as the player need to swap to in order to counter different weapon and enemy types. For example, the basic stone stance excels against normal sword-wielding enemies, water for shields, wind for spears, and moon for larger brute enemies. It takes some getting used to when you first start, but by the end of it, you'll feel like a true badass samurai swapping between all the stances with ease. There's also some really cool mechanics such as the standoff that allows you to call out to a group of enemies and force them to face you in the most unfair game of guess who's the protagonist that you've ever seen. Once they make their first move, you cut into them with lightning fast precision. You can upgrade this move as well, allowing you to then quickly cut down 2 more enemies in rapid succession. It's extremely satisfying and really fills that samurai fantasy. There are also a lot of stealth mechanics, but I'll be honest here, while I do enjoy stealth normally, it's actually my least favorite way to play Ghost of Tsushima. The combat itself is extremely fun and satisfying, and I found myself feeling more weighed down in the experience when I was forced to stay hidden to make my way through the missions. Not to say it's the worst or anything like that, but I personally didn't find it anywhere near as enjoyable as slashing my way through a horde of enemies as a one-man killing machine. Okay, so outside of combat, how's the rest of the game? Well, it's great. I'm gonna quickly cover the things that I personally love about the design choices. There's no mini-map, yet navigation is still easy to do as instead of waypoints cluttering the screen, the winds itself will guide you to where you have marked on your map. This allows for more immersion as there's less UI elements on screen. Speaking of more immersive, what about stumbling across points of interest? Well, if you're within a certain range of an undiscovered location, the wind will still continue to point you to your desired location. However, a small yellow bird will fly in front of you. If you choose to follow it, it'll lead you straight to a previously unknown area. These areas could be hot springs to increase your max health, fox dens to earn charms, bamboo strikes to increase resolve, or simply collectible skins for your katana or hats to wear. This unintrusive game design truly is a standout choice amongst the chaos of mini-maps, waypoints, dotted lines, and whatever else usually helps to guide players on where to go. It makes you feel like you're in the world, and to an extent makes you feel like Jin has some connection to nature, or that the island itself is attempting to aid Jin on his journey. So I've talked a lot about what's good. Is there anything bad? For one, I'd say stealth is definitely a weak point. Like I said, it's not the worst, but it could absolutely be better. For a game that calls you the Ghost every 5 minutes, it sure doesn't feel like I'm very Ghost-like. Sure, I could have played it that way, so that part is on me, but it just feels so much better not to. Another downside is that some of the throwable gadgets, we'll call them, kind of accomplish the same thing. For example, you can throw fireworks to lure enemies to a certain location, or you can throw a wind chime to lure enemies to a certain location. You can use a blow dart to poison an enemy from a distance, or you can use a blow dart to poison an enemy from a distance, but before they die, they go on a rampage. Sure, there's absolutely different applications for the blow darts, but when you already have 2 different bows with 4 different arrow types and different throwables that can do the same thing, I feel like there's a lot of overlap here. I would have loved to see a bit more creativity, like say, a rope dart that you could use to hang enemies such as the one in Assassin's Creed 3. Or even different weapon types like a staff or kama. Hell, a spear would have been cool too. Just throwing that out there, Sucker Punch, different weapons could be an awesome addition in the sequel. Finally, as for the port of the game on PC, I had a few crashes during my playtime, but overall it was pretty smooth. The main gripes I had were patched a week or so after launch. Those issues were that the standoff was broken half the time and wouldn't register when holding the button, so you just get smacked and taken down to 1 HP. And the other issue I had was that sometimes it wouldn't register when I was holding the button to swap stances, and the only fix was to jump for some reason. Outside of those 2 things that now seem to be fixed, the port is great. It runs extremely smooth, and I enjoyed every second of my time playing through it again. Overall, I'd say give it a shot if you haven't already. It's well worth the price, and if you can get it on sale, it's a must-buy. Despite already playing it 6 times now between PlayStation and PC, I've already started up a New Game Plus playthrough just to go back and get the exclusive cosmetics. Let me know in the comments what you think about the game. I love hearing what all of you have to say. If you liked the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribe, as it really helps me out. Sorry this one took a while. I made a lot of changes to how I wanted to make this video and ended up making it a lot bigger than I had anticipated. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.